hello, welcome back to me, except we're not talking about me. Today we're going to be talking about B, aka BTS's new album that they just released. And by just, I mean last month. Was that too intense? I'm sorry, I'm very excited. Hi, welcome back. I still don't know how to do intros, if you can tell. So, a while back, by a while I mean 2 months back, trying to get better on uploading, I swear, I uploaded a life update video, and in that video, I had asked you guys, the viewers, if you guys would be interested in me doing like a bit more reviews of things that I've ingested. And some people seemed to think that that sounded pretty interesting and they were intrigued by it. And by some people, I mean my friend Gray, who personally messaged me saying that they would be interested in that. But no one said they hated, so today I'm doing an album review of BTS's album B. I apologize in advance for the mess I will be throughout this video. If it wasn't obvious before, I am a bit of a fan of BTS. I say as I'm looking at my album shelf that has primarily BTS albums, and that also has my BTS Funko Pops in front of it. Listen, they were gifts. Oh, but yeah, I really like BTS. I started standing around the Love Yourself Tear album like right before that album was released. So before I start, let me give you just a brief rundown for you confused individuals who probably don't know who BTS are, which if you don't, how do you not? They're Grammy-nominated Billboard charting artists. But let's say somehow you didn't. Don't know how, but you didn't. BTS are a Grammy-nominated Korean boy band from the Korean-based group Bighit Entertainment. There's 7 members, which for the sake of this video, I will just be referring to them by their stage names. There's RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. In terms of their discography, there's not really a set drama that they fall into. Really, they do a mixture of like everything. They don't really have like a set genre. It's a lot of things that they like to experiment. The variety in each album is unmatched. Chef's kiss. Earlier in 2020, they actually released their album Map of the Soul 7, but they couldn't promote it in the ways that they had originally wanted to, like perform their songs on tour. I'm still a little bit upset I couldn't hear Ugh live, but it's okay, I'm fine, it's cool, it's cool. Anyway, the cancellation of the tour really hindered a lot of their plans, and it sort of led to them wanting to use all that new free time that they had that they would have used on tour on a new project, which then led to B, a album completely self-produced by BTS themselves. They've talked about how they wanted to depict how they and others have been feeling since the start of the pandemic. So that's staying inside, not really like going out, not really seeing a lot of people, and also more specifically not being able to perform for people. BTS have been very open about how hard this new reality has been for them as performers. They have mentioned how much they love to perform and how much this has really caused their mood to drop. And this album, B, sort of became an outlet for them to let out all those frustrations and hardships out. And the packaging is like really good. It was definitely worth the $45. But packaging is only 40% of the whole album. Nonetheless, it's about the music, the notes, the words belted into each track and make them an very unique sound. This album has 8 tracks, one of which being a skit, which is just them having a conversation, and the other one is the pre-released track of The Quarantine, Dynamite. And today I will be reviewing each one of them a month later. Again, I'm sorry. So for this, I will start by explaining like the song's sound as well as my interpretation of the song, my first initial impression of the song, my current impression of the song, and then a scenario that I imagine to the song, because who doesn't create music videos in their heads when they don't listen to music? That all being said, let's get on to the first track of the album, which is also the title track of the album, which is also the track that got them their second, no, their third number one on the Billboard Hot 100, and that is the calming track Life Goes On. Sound-wise, it's kind of a mixture of hip-hop with like a bit of maybe a soft type of hip-hop. Clearly my music knowledge knows no bounds. So this softness comes from the acoustic guitar in the background and the little whistle notes that you can also hear in the background. Also, of course, the sort of breathy vocals from their vocalists, Jungkook, Jin, V, and Jimin. You can also kind of hear what I think is mouth clicking. Like, it's like tongue clicking or mouth clicking. You can hear it from the very beginning, or at least I could hear it. It sort of reminds me of the ticking of a clock, which makes sense given that the song is essentially how life continues to go on, kind of like how time goes on. It could also be a way of them saying that time is wasting away, which who hasn't felt that since March 2020? The song is a bit self-explanatory. It essentially is saying that life goes on despite the bit of a mess that the world is in right now. There's a bit of like a bittersweet undertone. The sound as well as like the lyrics in general have a bittersweetness. You can also hear it in their voices too, which I think adds a bit of rawness to the track as well. I may be overthinking it, but an example would be in RM's verse. It almost feels as if he's upset as he's rapping. It's almost as if they're saying, this whole thing sucks and it's hard to get used to, but let's try and be there for each other and get through it. My first, technically third, because I listened to the song 3 times while watching the music video. Listen, this is my first impression of the song Life Goes On. Bro, literal tears, like the same vibes Mono gives me, but I'm crying the whole time. V and Jimin's vocalization near the end was so sweet. 10 out of 10. Now a lot of that is still true. A lot of what I like in this track is how calm the instrumentals and vocals are as they deliver this message of perseverance. It flows very nicely throughout each like verse and chorus. It feels like a warm hug. It feels like they're hugging me as I'm crying about this pandemic going on forever. The imagery the lyrics provide as well, I thoroughly enjoy. The thing I've always liked about BTS's songs, or more so their lyrics, is that it always adds another layer to the song itself. The chorus, like an echo in the forest, the day will come back again. That lyric itself, it could be a reference to the phrase, if a tree falls down in a forest and no one's around to hear it, did the tree really fall? It could also be a reference to how when you make like an echo, the sound comes back to you, like you still hear it as it like reverts back to you. As a way of sort of saying that these good days, even though they've gone, they're gonna come back, like an echo. Also, the first verse, spring didn't know to wait, showed up not even a minute late. You could say that could be a reference to how spring break came like a week earlier and we all went on it for 2 weeks and then thinking that we're gonna go back. Or it could also be a reference to their song Spring Day, in which they talk about the hardships and frustrations of missing someone and just wanting winter to melt away so that a warm spring day could come back. There's a lot of layers to these lyrics. You should read them. I also just like how they don't try to sugarcoat the entire thing while also still managing to keep a message of hope for everybody that's going through it. The only scenario I can really picture to the song would be me wearing headphones as like I'm floating in space, but the background is like a grayish white, kind of like the clip from Arthur where Binky Barnes is wearing those headphones and he's like floating. Or maybe the backing track to like a coming of age movie, but like a bittersweet ending. Maybe the main character has been trying very hard to make this relationship with this other person go well, but it doesn't, and so then right before college they're kind of just thinking about everything and they just sort of go, things are gonna be okay. They're shit right now, but they're gonna be okay. Very nice, very calming, very comforting. Life goes on. And then up next we have the first subunit of the album, which is the song Fly to My Room. song is an R&B styled track with an R&B styled sound, obviously. It is sung by Jimin and V with verses rapped by J-Hope and Suga. Sound-wise, similarly to Life Goes On, it's a relatively slow track. Beats and like tiny cymbals further emphasize the slowness of the track, which is fitting given the title of it and the overall vibe. Jimin and V's vocals do a very good job of giving it a lot more color. Suga and J-Hope's verses, on the other hand, add a quicker rhythm to it, making it a bit more spicy, adding a little bit of spice. Especially J-Hope's voice. His voice, they all have very distinct voices, but J-Hope's voice in this particular song really stood out to me the most. The song does a good job of describing the frustration and stress of just wanting to go somewhere that isn't your room. Lines like, feel like it's still day one, somebody turned back the clock, the entire year got stolen, I'm still in bed, a bloated stomach, it's killing me slowly now. I feel that really depicts what a lot of people has been going through throughout this entire pandemic, like staying in bed, the only thing you really get up to do is eat and then go back to bed. A very telling tale of what my day-to-day has been in the pandemic. Second verse relates to how they're starting to notice small things in the room that they haven't really noticed because usually they're in for like a bit and then they go out. Now that they've been in it for a very long time, they're starting to take notice like, oh, I didn't notice that that little chip on the desk has always been there. Or, oh, I didn't notice that their spot on the wall has a bunch of holes in it. I'm looking at my own wall and I'm noticing that there's holes with thumbtacks. I also think that the title of the song could also just be sort of a way of them saying, let's fly to our rooms, in terms of people would fly to different destinations before the pandemic and now they kind of can't fly at all. So maybe just pretending that their room is a new destination and trying to make the most out of it. Now, my first impression of the song was as follows. Bro, absolute banger. The vibes, V and Jimin's voices, Suga and J-Hope's rap. It sounds like a chill, fun night. It's R&B, right? So good, so chill. You can imagine my reaction when I first read the lyric translations of the song. Don't worry, that's an ongoing theme for this review. I still like the song. I still think it has that sort of chill, fun vibe to it. It has the sort of sound that you would want in your head when you're hanging out with your friends. Obviously, like over Discord and Skype now, but I think V and Jimin's harmonizations throughout the songs are very pleasing to the ear. The contrast of deep and high vocals just like blending in together is just something I thoroughly enjoy whenever they collab or something. And it's very nice in this song as well. One thing that I did find interesting that I found out after going on Twitter is that in J-Hope's verse, you can hear a TV anchorman going, although there is no cure for coronavirus. I hadn't noticed that for my first listen, and I just thought that that was interesting to share. I also just find the song title in general kind of ironic. Whenever I would go out or whenever I would have to be around people, my thought throughout the entire thing would be, I just want to go to my room. Can I please go to my room? Let me fly to my room. And now that's all that I'm in. Well, not really like my room. I leave my room a lot. It's my house that I'm mainly in. My mom makes me leave my room. She thinks I need to socialize. Basically what I'm saying, the song title has an ironic meaning to me, personally. Let me know if it has ironic meaning to you. I can honestly imagine this song as the original soundtrack to like a teen movie. No, teen musical, where these kids are grounded and they are stuck in their room and it's just them being overly dramatic as they mope around and look at things. A nice little montage of that going on I think would be very nice. The song is very nice, very chill vibes. They depict a very nice droning vibe without it being too boring, and the lyrics and ad-libs add nice good flair. Very nice vibe. If you like chill songs, I highly recommend this song. Next is the #1 cry song of the year, Blue and Gray. When I first heard the introduction of this song, I thought that the strings were harps. It's actually a guitar. The more you know. So Blue and Gray is a soft ballad that starts with a guitar and then slowly builds up with some added piano notes as well as a bit of orchestral instruments and also soft beats. The vocals sound pretty full, not like vocals are usually like half empty, but more so in that they kind of have that sound of somebody who is trying not to cry, like they have like a sob wedged into their throat, you know? They also sound a bit breathy, which gives a sort of tiredness tone to the track. Whereas the rap verses by Suga, J-Hope, and RM, they sound very rushed, which I know they're rapping, so it makes sense, but more so in a way that they want to get everything that they want to say out before they regret letting it out. RM's verse especially, I think, adds another layer of desperation and maybe just a tad bit of anger. It sounds haunting, but it's not like a scary haunting, it's more of a good haunting, like a goosebumps. How people find comfort in movies like Coraline, Corpse Bride, Nightmare Before Christmas. Again, you can probably assume from the title of the song is quite sad. But I mean, who hasn't felt that way in a while? All my depressed bitches say wayo, wayo. The symbolism of the colors blue and gray is used throughout the song to depict the feeling of depression, and even without that, you can still get that sense of sadness through the lyrics, like, I just want to be happier, am I being too greedy? And since I was young, I've had this blue question mark in my head, maybe that's why I've lived so fiercely. And the wide gray land is comfortable. Here, 100 million expressions of gray. Those are just a few of the lyrics that stand out to me the most in the song and just really emphasizes this feeling of longing for something better. The song sort of says, hey, you're feeling like this, I'm feeling like this too. Let's try and be there for each other in the hopes that it makes the whole thing a lot more bearable. Now, my first impression of the song was this. I literally gasped at the first strings. The only word I can think of is the yearning. The English bit straight up made me tear up because I feel like it's about them not being able to perform. It reminds me of a K-drama original soundtrack, like I imagine this play over yearning lovers. A lot of that still remains the same after the 100th listen. The strings still leave me a little bit breathless every time I hear it. I still get a bit choked up whenever I hear the lines, I just want to be happier, especially because it reminds me of their other song, 0 O'Clock, where they say the lines, and you're gonna be happy throughout the chorus. Again, that sort of contrast really further adds another layer to the song. I know that the song isn't entirely based on how they can't perform for other people, but I do feel that some bits in the song really emphasize that. It's a bit of like a heavy type of comfort that I get from the song, especially after hearing what V had said, how he wanted people to know that these feelings of depression and loneliness are things that he deals with too, and how he hopes that they will get a sense of healing after listening to it. I like the way that he ends the song. It kind of gives those listening a bit of hope. After secretly sending my words up in the air, I now sleep at dawn. Good night. He had shared in Weverse magazine how after writing this he felt a lot lighter, and I'm very glad that this song provided him an outlet to get all those feelings out. It makes me quite happy. I also like the idea of that verse just being finally letting out all those bottled emotions and then finally feeling at ease. The scenario I can picture is maybe some form of royalty kind of staring out into the window at the newly snow-covered ground, or maybe that same royalty sneaking out and exploring the snow-covered forest after a fight with their parents. Maybe they find an abandoned castle or shed that they seek refuge in, and they're just kind of sad throughout the whole thing. Maybe add a blue and gray filter, make those colors really pop. Why not add more sadness to the idea? It's a nice sad song to cry to. Highly recommend if you need a sad song to cry to. Feelings are valid. Let them out once in a while. Tears should be shed once in a while, or just every time you feel them coming. Okay. Enough sad vibes. Now let's move on to the track that truly lacks those sad vibes, and that is Skit. Actually not a song, it's really a conversation that they have after achieving their first #1 on Billboard. The very first line, which is said by Jin, is Billboard #1 singers entering, which I find very funny. This also happened on Jungkook's birthday. So they say, oh, this is your birthday present. I guess you don't need an actual gift now. Again, found that very funny. At one point when Suga enters the room, he says, Billboard #1 singer has arrived late. And then when they ask him how he feels about the achievement, it's followed by a very long beep. And then others immediately laugh afterwards. Again, this is top tier comedy. Sitcoms can compete. It's just a very pure conversation that all the members have with each other. Excluding the loud beep, I don't think that what he said was quite pure. When I first listened to it, it is as follows. #1 Billboard singers, they sound like they're having so much fun. They sound so cute here. I don't know what they're saying, but facts. I'm glad they sound happy. I'm very happy when they're happy. I'm still very happy whenever I hear this song. BTS are artists that have worked hard their entire lives and have dealt with so much struggles in their personal life as well as the Korean industry and Western industry. So to see all that work finally pay off and to see them constantly rise with everything that they release makes me really proud to see. And I assume it makes them pretty proud too, because they've worked so hard for this, and to see recognition that they're getting for it, I would be proud too. The ending of the song hits a bit hard as well. It ends with RM saying to J-Hope, Hoba, don't you think this is what happiness feels like, before it just fades out. I really like that. It's something very sweet to listen to, and it really shows how grateful they are of everything they've been given, regardless of how long it took for them to get it. I don't really know what kind of scenario I would imagine to this song. I guess maybe reminiscing on the fun times with you and your friends, but that's about as much as I could think of. It's a very sweet discussion, very funny commentary, and I hope that they continue to achieve many more milestones as they go on. Up next we have the first non-sad track, like actual song of the album, which is the song Telepathy. Telepathy is an upbeat retro style song. The bass is booming, the vocals are vocaling, the cowbells are belling. Very fun song. I think it's really good. I think the autotune in it adds a bit of flavor. Some people might not like it. I like it. The rappers Suga, J-Hope, RM, the way they deliver their verses feels very fresh. There are various points of the song where it goes up and down in terms of the instrumentals, but it still keeps this consistent funk to it. It's a very head-bopping song, very head-bop worthy. Lyric-wise, it's also very sweet. Jin had actually said that they wrote this song as a way to melt down the feeling of not being able to see other people during the pandemic. The overall theme of the song is, even though we can't physically see each other, I still feel very close to you. The chorus especially, I find very just teeth-rottingly sweet. But like, it's a good teeth rot. Like, I'm okay with the pain. Every time during the same day, I feel the happiest when I meet you. Every time, even in a different everyday life, you're the most special person to me. It does a really good job of portraying a rainbow after a bad rainstorm. Upon first listen, I was a bit excited, to say the least. It sounds so good. Like, it sounds like a fun disco night. Bro, it's so fucking good and catchy. Like, play this in a car and the whole gang's gonna turn up. Bro, it's so catchy. I genuinely really like this one so much. Oh my fuck. And the fading out. Bitch, that's so good. I thought it was really good. I still think it is. Every time I listen to it, I just automatically smile. Genuinely, if you were to tell me to stand still while listening to this song, or else I'd be shot, I mean, thank God I got approved for health insurance. And the way that this song was also nearly rejected, like, bro, Suga, the man has hands of gold. Every track that he touches or produces just ends up being so good. And also, another small thing that I like about this song is the way that it fades out. It doesn't abruptly stop, it fades out into ending. A big gripe that I have with a lot of songs is that they'll just stop abruptly, and it'll be songs that I really enjoy like throughout the whole thing, and then I get angry. One song in particular, no hate to the man, but it's Harry Styles' Woman. The entire song is really good, but then it just stops, and it would have been better if it faded out. Thankfully, telepathy doesn't do this. It does a little fade out. Obviously, if you hear a bit closely, it kind of does, but I don't pay attention to things, so it fades out to me. Also, RM's verse. He's a lyrical genius. I gotta say that right now. I really... king. During his verse, there's a part where at first when I listened to it, I thought he said Beverly Hills. He actually said Bibbly Hills. When you take like the whole translation, oh, I can be your Bibbly Hill, like you did the same to me. Essentially saying, oh, I can be the one for you to lean on just like you were for me. It's so good. It's good. I picture this song being the perfect introduction to like a superhero movie, sort of how Sunflower was in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's a banger of a song. It's so fucking good. Serotonin in a single file. Highly recommend if you want to feel happy. Speaking of banger, up next is the song Disease. This one has more of an old school hip hop style. You can hear it within the first few seconds of the track, right before J-Hope starts his verse with a uh-oh. Very fitting given the topic that they're gonna sing about. There's a nice little guitar strumming in the beginning and record scratching throughout the entire song. It has very strong old school vibes. The vocals are phenomenal. I think the runs are done very well without being too overwhelming. They sound nice and firm, and the same goes for the rapping in this song as well, which has a very impressive build-up and a very satisfying drop to it. Jimin's ad-libs, I feel, bring the bridge together quite nicely. It sounds like a fun night. It sounds like a really fun night. The song talks about how an artist works very hard throughout their life to a point where the idea of break becomes almost comedic to them. It's a bit sickening to think of, where the real sickness is their inability to not be able to take a break. First verse, the lines, "My sin, a dog biting me while I rest. Don't do that. Even if I scream, I'm hungry for achievements every day." The alluding to a dog biting him, that could be how every time one rests, it's like the little voice in the back of the mind going, you shouldn't be resting, you have so much to do, which is often very annoying. Kind of like when a dog is biting at you when you're trying to rest. The last line is also telling of this universal feeling of wanting to achieve more and more, to the point where it's just like an ever-growing hunger that never is satisfied. There's, however, a bit of hope within this track. The choruses and the bridge serve as a way to motivate you to keep going despite this lull trying to hold you back. The last lines of the bridge especially. I am a stronger spark of fire, I will never fade away. They give that vibe of nothing's gonna bring me down. My first impression of this was a bit muted. At first I was a bit, oh, it's pretty good, but as it builds up, it's like, dude, whoa, kind of more suave than disco. The second I heard V say, I'm so fine, that's all it took. I think I was still coming down from the high of telepathy, hence the, this is good. Jungkook was very impressive on this track. I enjoy the way that V sings the line, I'm so fine. Jin's voice and lines in this song were very good. I like the way that he delivers the chorus. I think it was very powerful the way that he did it. Same with Jimin in his delivery of the bridge. I think Jimin even helped compose the bridge. I like how the vocal line switches between who sings the verse and gives it their own little flair to it. J-Hope's verse I really like. I particularly like the song I Relieve the Anxiety with a Sip of Coffee, mainly because I like coffee, but I'm also very anxious, but I still drink coffee despite that. I like RM's wordplay in his verse. Suga's verse, I like how he uses the concept of sickness and connects it to how the world keeps working and doesn't really take a break, and how he connects that to the literal sickness that's going on in the world right now. Every member in the song brings something unique to the table. and it does a good job of balancing the topic of too much work and no rest is a sickness, and you can do it, you can persevere and keep going. I can kind of picture the music video like them walking around, maybe taking a break from their work, ironically. Maybe they're trying to get over a slump in their work and fresh air is trying to get them over it. Just exploring the outside and seeing what they've missed while working. Maybe a few things are a bit, what's the word, dramatically emphasized in the outside. The build-up could be them hitting that creative storm and then coming out with this great idea. Maybe even a montage of them like changing into old school clothes and walking down the red carpet because that idea that they thought of was so good. I'm gonna stop now because this scenario is turning into a whole music video. But big hit, if you need a music video for Disease, let me know. My email's in the description. Move on, we have the second and also last subunit of the album, Stay. Stay, 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 always. Yeah, no, yeah, always stay. The beginning kind of reminds me of the soundtrack of a video game before Jungkook starts singing and the beats start to kick in. It starts very soft and then there's the beat. It completely shifts the tone of the song, but it's a nice shift. I quite enjoy it. In comparison to the last two tracks, it's more upbeat in terms of like a modern club type of song. But you know, it still sounds like music, you know, in comparison to some of the songs that they play in the club. Most EDM songs I know kind of just sound like a bunch of noises. Sometimes they're good noises. Stay sounds like an organized noise. Each little sound in the song complements each other. They help support each other in a way without overpowering one or sounding too clunky, while still maintaining a consistent tone throughout the song. Listen, I'm not really well versed in the EDM scene, so I could be talking out of my ass. Jungkook and Jin's voice sound really good in this track. I think they suit the style really well. Not to mention the contrast of their like light voices with RM's heavy vocals. It adds another layer of dramatic to it. Lyrical wise, it's very sweet. It's about how BTS misses their fan, aka ARMY, and how even though that they can't physically see each other, they know that they're still connected and that regardless, they'll always stay with them. It's cheesy, I will admit that, but I think a lot of lines in here are just very cute. RM in particular, I really like this line. What's important about that we connect to 7G? Many people pointed out how he's referencing how we've all been sort of connected with one another through like the internet. Samsung 5G being one of those many devices. It also just so happens to be the company that BTS is sponsoring. Also, switching out the 5 for 7 because there are 7 members. It's clever. It kind of reminds me of that one song Shelter by, what was it, Porter Robinson? There was somebody else, but I know one of them was Porter Robinson. It was like really popular back then and it made everybody cry. Like it was really good. Both of those songs are like quite similar to each other and they both deal with similar themes of missing someone or some people. They both make me sad if I think too hard on them, but at least I'm like bopping along. Basically what I'm saying is a mashup would sound kinda cool. Now my first impression is a bit embarrassing. Bro, she's so dramatic and I'm kind of into it. Not at how I was gonna say, why do I get Taylor Swift's love story from this before the beat dropped? Not entirely into the EDM vibe, but it sounds both fun and bittersweet. Kind of a mixture of Best of Me and So What. Also reminds me of Baby Rexha's In the Name of Love in a way. Gives me two exes trying to get over each other at a rave scenarios. I have re-listened to Love Story since then. I don't know what I was thinking the love story sounded like. Similar vibe is there though, I mean, not much has changed from that other than the fact that now the beginning does not sound like Love Story anymore. But aside from that, things are about the same in terms of my thought process. I like how it's both dramatic and fun at the same time. I think my favorite part would be the pre-chorus when Jin and Jungkook are both singing stay, 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 and then RM adds an always at the end and then goes bam right into the chorus. I think it's good. I think that's really good. Now the scenarios that I'd imagine to the song are a bit more of like a Tron style scene. Maybe person A is at a neon club. Person B is maybe racing to get to them to add that bit of drama to it. I still can't get the video of Shelter like out of my head, so a lot of that is like sort of affecting the vision that I have. Very nice song, very fun song. Have a blast crying in the club listening to this song. And then last but not least, we have the final track of the album, a track that was released before the album was even announced and achieved so much. The Retro, The Child, Dynamite. Dynamite. The earworm of 2020. If you somehow haven't heard the song, I'm gonna just assume that you're lying because literally everybody has heard it. Dynamite is an upbeat, retro-ish styled song. It's very catchy and addictive, I will admit that. I like how it has a consistent build-up throughout the song, like there's never like a weird awkward pause or anything. I like the trumpets that play near the end. I have a thing with trumpets. Trumpets excite me. That sounded weird. I think Jungkook's voice really suits this style, or I guess this concept in general. They all do a very good job at the delivery, but Jungkook in particular just stood out to me the most. It gives me that old school boy band vibe. The lyrics are as addictive as the sound. I'll often find myself going, shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Even though the idea of drinking a whole glass of milk, regular milk, disgusts me. Don't judge me, I'm lactose intolerant. They mentioned how they release a song as a way to bring some light into these dark times that we're going through, and honestly I think they succeeded in that. I don't have my first impression of the song written down because it came out in August, so I didn't have it prepared. I thought it was fun when I first listened to it. I still think it's fun now. I enjoy every single performance that they put on for it. Every single performance of Dynamite is always so different, and I respect that. You have a bit mixed feelings for it, just a tad bit. I still think it's really good. I think it was worthy of the success they got, but also undeserved so much better. I think the scenario that I would give for this song is about the same scenario that the music video gives off, except it's like at the end of like a movie. It's the dance crew performing the biggest competition of dance crews, the Footloose competition. And after all the hardships that they've all gone through together, they come together and they shine through this little city with a little fucking soul. Prove to that snobby dance team captain that wouldn't let one of them enter that they're wrong and they do have the moves. Not gonna lie, I kind of think that that's already the plot of that one Sabrina Carpenter movie with Liza Koshy. I didn't watch it. I watched the trailer for it. And lastly, we have the final rankings for today, because I know that these rankings are going to be changing throughout my entire life. My first ranking after only listening to each song once are as follows. We had Telepathy in first place, second place Fly to My Room, third place was a tie between Blue and Gray and Life Goes On, fourth is Disease, and fifth Stay. I excluded Skit because she's not really a song. She's cute, but she's not a song. Now, that all being said, my new ranking is quite different. Dynamite, we dana-nana so much, but sometimes you can dana-nana too much, and the funk has to stop at one point. And for that, I will continue seeing you in the crowd at last place. Well, it's not really a crowd seeing how you're the only one there, but you have all your dana-nanas to keep you warm. Stay, you were fun, you were catchy, you were quirky, but you get sixth. I know, it hurts you as much as it hurts me. Life Goes On and Fly to My Room, because I am indecisive, you both get fifth place. Or you get fourth. I could be doing the math wrong. No, yeah, fifth. No, wait. Blue and Gray, just like the number of words in your title, you get third place. I just love the feeling of feeling like I'm royalty walking in the snow, while also simultaneously being sad. And finally, we have our final two competitors, Telepathy and Disease. Telepathy, you are a good bop. A very good bop. I physically cannot stand still whenever you are on in a room. Your lyrics are very sweet, and not only that, you are quite literally the underdog of the story, about to be thrown away only to be saved by small producer man, going from being rejected to having everybody wanting you to come back. You are quite literally the main character. And Disease, also a bop in many different ways. You pay tribute to the old school vibes, and you have members calling themselves fine. You're a J-Hope produced track, and given his track records in previous songs, that makes you a really good fucking song. Not to mention your bridge. Your bridge deserves an award of its own. Everybody wants you. Everybody loves you. Everybody wants to be you. You are the bad boy love interest that everybody is sought after. But of course, only one of you can be the #1 track of the IReallyTried track ranking. Second place goes to Disease. You are a true treasure, Disease, a one-of-a-kind competitor, and nobody could ever compete with you. But also, I'm quite the whore for the fade. That means Telepathy, you are America's next top model. No, but Telepathy, that makes you the best track out of the B album. It's a very fun song. It has everything that I could ever want in a main character anthem, and that is Telepathy. Congrats to Telepathy, and congrats to BTS for making another good album for the 23rd time of their career. Not many people can do that. B is such a great album, especially for the times that we're going through right now. They've said that they wanted this album to be one of comfort for many people, and I think they really succeeded in that. From the album design, to the concept of the songs, to the overall sound in general, consider me no longer in need of therapy. That all being said, do I think that this is their best album? That's a difficult question. Here's the thing. I am part of the LGBT community, so with that in mind, I kind of have this very strong attachment to the Most Beautiful Moments in Life series, aka the HYYH series. To mention it being my very first comeback, I also have kind of a strong attachment to the Love Yourself Tear album, and also just considering the fact that Dark and Wild is an album that exists. It's definitely up with those albums, definitely top 10. I give the B album 8.5 out of 10 therapy sessions. It would be 10 out of 10, but I have to be at least a little bit unbiased in these reviews. And there you go, that was my review of BTS's B album. Hopefully it was interesting to watch. Maybe it interests you enough to maybe listen to the album yourself if you haven't already. I'm gonna leave streaming links and stuff in the description, as well as links to the lyrics and all the other resources I use. And hey, if you want me to do something like this again, leave a comment below what album, artist, or song you want me to review. Honestly, I kind of want to review all the albums that were nominated for Album of the Year for the Grammys. Twitter is up on screen right now, twitter.com/IReallyTry. I really tried to give you a good review of BTS's B album, so you should really try to subscribe. That all being said, stay safe, stay wearing your masks, and I will try to see you soon. Keyword on try. I'm gonna end this before it gets any worse. Hi, hello. There's what were my hands doing? RM, Jin, J-Hope, Suga. Why did I blink out? Because who doesn't create music videos in their heads when they don't listen to music? Mentally stable people, that's who, and that's why they're not fun. I'm gonna fuck myself. Oh, you started now. A lot of it is still pretty true. Whereas the rushed verse, whereas the rushed verse, the person A is at a neon club. Tears should be shed once in a while, or just every time you feel them coming. They also make for a nice cleanser. Just cry, let it settle overnight, wake up, and bam, Proactive gets nothing on depression. And honestly, I think they succeeded in that. It's like a little shot of serotonin, just a little bit. Don't get heroin, get dynamite.